Hello and welcome to the Make It Count podcast. Today's guest is someone I deeply respect. Christopher Teehee is a builder in the truest sense of the word. He leads across essential services, consulting, media, and real estate as CEO of Red Hot Electric, Vice President of J&C Inventors, and Managing Partner of Native Consulting. What sets Chris apart isn't the number of businesses he operates, it's how he operates. He makes practical decisions, he thinks long term, and he carries responsibility well. Chris is also the steward of the last independently family owned radio station in North America. That's a role rooted in legacy, community, and stewardship. That perspective shapes how he leads, how he builds, and how he defines success. This is a conversation worth leaning into. And I'm honored to welcome Chris Teehee to the Make It Count podcast. Welcome, Chris.
Hello, how are you guys doing today?
Yeah, you know what? We are I can tell you, I'm too blessed to be stressed. I don't know about
Y-
you.
Yeah, that's it. I think you take every opportunity and every day to wake up and you just thank God I get to do another day, you know.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a blessing.
Well, for those people who are watching and listening who don't know who Christopher Teehee is, tell us a little bit about you.
Um, First and foremost, I'm a father. I'm also a builder at heart. I like to build business systems and people up. So um, I just like to help people. I operate across real estate, consulting, essential services, media. I focus on creating businesses and solve real world problems, generate long term value to everybody that comes to me. So it's taking care of the people that depend on me. And knowing that I've been dependable has been a big structure of my life. So everything I do is built around sustainability, financially, operationally, and ethically. Doing the right thing 100% of the time.
Well, and you tend to be super humble. It's interesting when I had you recently in a weekly coaching call for a real estate group, clearly that you and I are both part of. Afterward, the comments that people were putting, which was, hey, Christopher Teehee, put him on your radar. He's up to things. He's got things happening, because you tend to be fairly quiet about it, right? When you decide you want to build something, how do you decide what it is you want to go build?
I really it's just finding that passion. I kind of look at how Richard Branson said things. It's like if you find a purpose in it, it's like say yes to the opportunity and then figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I've seen things. I ask two questions too. Is this a mission that will move forward? Is this something that I'm passionate about? That if I put my all into it, can I bring the value to everybody that is coming to me? And so that's what I do. And if it doesn't, then I pass on those opportunities. I don't, I just say no, you know.
Yeah.
So,
So building can be something that's on our heart. There's also a lot of skill that comes with that, though. So tell us a little bit, Chris, just about your background that got you to where you are today.
okay. Yeah, across my industries, I grew up very humbly. My mother was not, let's say, we grew up in the projects here in Oklahoma at a young age, and she met my stepdad, and I watched how my mother transformed, and she kind of inspired me. She can come from humble means, and then she went and got her radio broadcasting degree, and then I watched her transform herself. So she inspired me as I was young, and I remember those
Yeah.
things. And I said, if she can do it, I can do it too. And then in school, they were like, there's something about Chris that is way different. And so they started putting me in advanced programs when I was younger. And I was like, okay, I can do these. And then just kind of just building on those things. And so as I grew in life, and grew through different phases of my life, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old watching my parents do multi-million-dollar deals for radio stations, with a guy that owns a majority of the horse race tracks in North America. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, wow, I'm just watched my parents grow something and not realize that until you get later on in years. And so really it was about leadership, financial discipline, making decisions under pressure, listening. And that's one of the greatest skills that I've learned as well too, is listening to what people need, what people want. And then human behavior, just making, just kind of seeing how people are, so I
Sure.
kind of, so,
So you
and
you had your parents. So sorry, did not mean to cut you off. You had your parents as mentors. So then as an adult, who else kind of served a part in your journey as a mentor or as a leader that you think has
um,
had impact and influence with you?
one of them was Robert Kiyosaki. I went through the Rich Dad Poor Dad program, and they seen something in me as well too. It's kind of the coaching, I mean, your professional athletes, they have coaches. It's like, hey, go do this, and this is how you do it, and then you have to do that type of. Um, you have to be disciplined in it. It's like, hey, look, we don't want to waste our time. You've paid us money. You can waste your money, or you can, use your money the correct way. And so I did. Robert Kiyosaki was a mentor of mine in his program. And then another one was Douglas Carlton. And Douglas Carlton helped build and develop Los Angeles County. He's got about 55 million square feet of real estate underneath his feet, and he was another one that helped me as well too. As I was an apprentice as an electrician, and he'd seen something in me. He goes, hey, he goes, you really need to get your journeymans. And then after that, he goes, I want you to come and talk to me. And he goes, oh, I help you build your electrical contracting business, and so kind of having those mentors that coach you and teach you and grow you until you kind of do the same thing. You kind of pass the torch on and mentor the next generation coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. All along the way, it was they saw something in you. What do you think that dotted line was of what they were seeing in you?
Integrity,
Mm,
it's like I showed up and I listened. I had integrity, I had discipline. I built a friendship first and foremost with all of
yeah.
them. I think that, I talked to another man the other day that kind of opened my eyes. It's like, what do you have to give other people that is valuable to you? And I said time. He goes, that's one thing. He goes, but really, truly, it's your friendship. He goes, because you're
Mhm.
more apt to do business with people who are friends,
Yeah.
and they won't leave you behind. And that's true to this day. I mean, I still have my best friends from when I was 6 years old. And that's
Love that.
40 years of friendships that I've had with a few type people in my circle that I have.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks a lot too, right? The length of people's friendship says a lot about how they show up,
Yeah.
for sure. All right, let's dig a little bit in here because I know that the people watching want to know more about Chris. So you operate across multiple businesses at the same time. How do you decide what deserves your attention and what doesn't?
Um, what deserves my attention? I think it's just looking at give me a second here. Is it something I'm passionate about? Is this something that I'm willing to do? If it deserves my attention, then it's going to get my full attention.
Mhm.
For example, in the electrical contracting business, it was my real estate investors that were coming to me. They were going, "You're too expensive." I'm going, "No, I'm actually competitive, and my value is there because you're getting me when I show up." So
Yeah.
you're getting the guys that I've trained to show up, and I teach them and show them how to do how I would do it. I go, and then I show up on those jobs as well too. Because I
Yeah.
want them to know that, hey, this guy is actually serious about his business. And so when they would tell me that, I'm like going, well, I'm not the cheapest. I go, but I'm bringing the value to you, So I think bringing value to people is one of the most important things that you can truly do, you know. Knowing that, that I'm accountable and I'm honest in those deals, that I follow through on all of the things that I say I'm going to finish. And that's
Yeah.
a part of it. That's how I stay in that section.
How, how do you manage to keep yourself accessible while also not sort of depleting your time? Meaning, I know today's your daughter's birthday, so happy birthday.
Thank you.
I know you've recently retired your wife,
Yeah.
which Congratulations, and that's exciting. How do you manage to balance to make sure that all these businesses and the time, because clearly you have your phone number on the screen, people are going to reach out to you. How are
Yeah.
you balancing that along with keeping your family life as a priority?
Really just scheduling, time management. I wake up real early in the morning. I'm up at 3:30 every day. Um, we just got done driving 16 hours from Arizona back to Oklahoma because we're in a horrific car wreck. And so
Yeah.
it's like you push yourself through the exhaustion sometimes. It's like, okay, I know I'm exhausted. I'll tell people, hey, look, I have no problem telling people no. I mean, I had
Yeah.
another guy call. He needed a large sum of money, and also wanted to talk to me about my electrical contracting business as well, too, on another deal that I have going. I told him no. I said, no. I said, right now, I said, my goal is to take care of myself first, take care of my wife and make sure that she is secure in what we have coming in. And then after that, it's like, I will make everybody else a part of the priorities of how I see they need it. And just scheduling time management. It's like it's a focus, really. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I have this one, and I have this one to do. It's like I can give 15 minutes here, and knowing that time block.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness, Greg Gunn, he was another mentor of mine that came in. He said time management is one of the hardest skills for CEOs and people who own businesses, and it's like where your focus goes is what you're going to get. And it's
Hmm.
like, how long do you give yourself to get these things done? So it's like, what can I get done in this 15-minute time frame? And then
Yeah.
blocking that time consistently and being ready to do that. And Greg Gunn, amazing, amazing, holy man. Oh my goodness. And he's got like 14 kids or something like that. I mean, he does.
To be
And
jealous.
yes, I mean, he was the salt of the earth, man. I miss Greg. I haven't talked to him in a long time. I need to reach out to him. So he was another
Yeah.
great mentor of mine. Just amazing people coming to your lives, holy men, and that's
Yeah.
it. Is the mentors that you have. You kind of talk about how do you do it, and don't be afraid to ask me questions. I have
Yeah.
people. I've done podcasts with you and other calls as well too, and people reach out to me. I'm like, well, how can I help you do something? How can I bring value that is going to help you grow? There's so much out there for all of us, and I think the first thing, and I think Pace Morby taught me this, is like the mindset has to shift first. Let me help you shift your mindset. And then once that happens, like, okay, now let's structure time. Now let's look at business. Let's find out where your strengths are versus your weakness. Work your strengths, give your weaknesses to somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, thinking about mentors, right? Pace is a mentor to you, I believe. He's a mentor to me. And I'm
Yeah.
grateful he's really become a good friend. And there's three things I think about that he's really mastered that I know for me, I still struggle with and strive toward. But one of them, of course, is mastering the calendar. You were talking about how business owners and CEOs struggle, right, to manage their time. And I completely agree. Michelle and I were talking last week about people who have a career, right? They serve as an employee in someone's organization, and that can be great. That's for a lot of people, right? But they don't have control over most of their time. They're
Right.
given exactly what to do within that 8 to 10 hour workday. So then the little bit of, the window time they have for their personal lives, that's kind of what they're managing on the personal side. And as business owners, trying to keep the balance of getting everything done. Like my action item list for today is ridiculous. But I was in that situation. If I didn't start putting it down, I was going to miss things.
Mhm.
Right. Or getting them out of order. So if you have a lot of things to knock out, just in general for a day, how do you prioritize?
Um, a lot of them is taking no. No, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to. I'm taking off the things that are not a priority. Is just
Right.
knocking them out of there. Just say no. Like I can follow up with that one the next day.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
making sure that your priorities that you have are accomplished and done. Like, no, this is priority one. This is priority two.
Yeah.
This is priority three. And then until you get those done, you don't move on to the next one. You
Right.
know. And so it's like, no, this is a priority. I always go back to the electrical because I spent 30 years in that industry. My priority was always to safeguard the practical parts of a people's home, a person's home. So if they call me in the middle of the night, which they have, 2 o'clock in the morning, I smell electrical burning. I see my breaker glowing red, that becomes a priority, because at that point it's like, look, call the fire department. I am on my way right now, you
Yeah.
know, and that's kind of like an emergency situation. And in business, it's kind of like, what's a priority? When you look at somebody, it's like, okay, people come to me, and I'm gonna switch gears here for a second, back to the private money lending business.
Sure.
I'm like, they're like, hey, I need money. I'm like, okay, everybody does. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody is. What's your deal? How can I help you get what you need? Well, I need money for this deal. Oh, okay, well, bring me an executive summary with all the numbers and everything, so I can
Yes.
look at the entire deal, and then I can start an underwriting process. And learning how to do all those things. And I want to fund everything that I can for everybody that I can.
Yeah.
But it's like teaching people, hey, look, you might not be ready for this deal. Go JV with somebody who's got more
Yeah.
experience. Don't be afraid to reach out and say, hey, look, I'm going to share some bread with you. I'm going to break bread with you. And then before you know it, now you're going to get a reputation of, hey, look, no, they actually paid me. Hey, they brought me a great deal. And then before you know it, you're helping each other out through those at that time. And then you're building inside that community as well too. And I love that part. I really admire what Pace Morby has grown, because I've never seen nothing like it in any organization that I've been
Well, and that's the other two things that he has really mastered is an abundance mindset, right? There is more than enough for everyone, period. And he does not allow negativity around him. Doesn't mean you can't have a bad day,
in.
but you
Right.
know how there's just people who sort of seep toxicity.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever necessarily good enough. He will not allow those people around him. And I think that level of protection in his hemisphere allows him to really continue. I mean, the way he grows his businesses year over year, I've never seen anything like it. Nor has our country probably, but since they're all still privately owned, no one would know, right? Because he still wears a hoodie and ball cap. It's not as
Yep.
though he's not flashy, right?
No,
He's
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 humble.
built
Yeah.
wealth with the right reasons in place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it too, and I'll reference the Bible. I love reading the
Sure.
Bible, so everybody knows here. I'm very strong in my faith with Christ. I have one of my best friends and I. We all, if we start talking God, it might be 5-6 hours, and we are discussing the Bible and the stories of it. Because if you look at the stories, it will guide you in your way. In a lot
Yes.
of ways, in all of it. How to be with your children, how to be with money, how to be in business. Not
Yeah.
only that, you got to give homage back to God. God, I need to help your people as well too. And leaning on His promises is one of my things that I truly do.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pace. You look at hoodie and ball cap. Yeah, I love that. I'm kind of a hot natured man, so I get really hot. And I love my cowboy hat. It's kind of what I've always kind of worn. I like my bell caps too, but
Yeah.
he is humble in his ways. He really is. He builds the friendship first, is what I've
Yeah.
noticed about him. He's like he knows what it's like to have to work your way up in life. And I do too. I understand how it's you work hard, you bring value to everybody, and then you guide them the best you can. And then if they hit a roadblock, it's like, look, who do you need to talk to? What do you need to know? Learning how to just be a servant. I think that's what Christ said, let's wash each other's feet. What I'm doing right now, you don't understand, but you will when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And you see that, being a servant is like, how can I help you grow and help you know where you want to go in this life?
Yeah. In anybody who's had success, certainly you've had a great deal of success as well. There's failures, right? There's
Oh my
stumbles
goodness.
along the
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
And I'm probably throwing you a curveball, but it keeps coming up. I feel like I'm supposed to ask this. As you think through the last 30 years, right? Because for the most part, you've been a business owner for near 30 years,
Yeah.
building your electrical business, all the things that you've got going on. What, as you look back at some of those moments where you thought, crap, right? Like a stumbling block or a failure, how did that ultimately end up turning out to be something positive? Right? Like I have a plaque, it says, the will of God will not take you where the grace of God will not protect you. And none of us want to have to go through the painful things or the hiccups, but they do shape us for what's to come. So Take a minute, kind of think about that. What is it, if you look back on your journey, the things that you thought at the time, oh man, that really became something positive down the road?
I I have seen that. I have an invention in the oil field, and one of the guys that I had partnered with on it, we had an agreement on it. He's seen money come in like he'd never seen money before, and I kind of measure people how they see money. To
Mm,
me, it's a tool. It could
yeah,
come, it can go. I can make a lot of it. I can make a little of it. It's knowing how to manage it and hold on to it and grow it the correct way.
yeah,
And I seen this partner that I had, and I mean, we made a lot of money. I mean, a lot. I was like, okay, just let us sit there, and then we'll figure out what to do with it. We'll multiply it. Was my goal.
yeah,
When he just, my brother had just come back from war, and I was picking him up at the airport, and he was kind of still in that mentality of being in war. And so I was like, okay, he needs me first and foremost. This is my priority, is the love of my brother.
yeah,
And so I spent a lot of time with him. And while you were here, we had a grandmother pass away at this time. And uh, I spent probably about 10 days with him. That's kind of the leave that he got, was 10 days. And then he had to
yeah.
go back. I came back and the bank accounts were emptied. Businesses had been shut down. I'm talking, he had taken everything. I mean, it was all gone. I
Wow.
mean, emptied. And I'm going, I go, I go, you can have the money. I said, I will always make more. You know, at that point, I had an attorney, we conferred on everything. And then I was able to take control of the entire business because of
Yeah,
that. He didn't know what to do on the business end. He just seen the money factor. I was like, look, I said, you got to learn the money's just a tool.
yeah,
You know? And so I was like, okay, you can have the money, but I get the business.
yeah,
So I seen that as a blessing. It's like, well, I'll take this part of it. You can take the money because I can still grow that business again. I'm not afraid to go out and grow this again. And
yeah,
so greed kind of took over his heart. People become lovers of money, of those
yeah,
things. And, it wasn't the love of friendship or anything. I thought this person was a friend, but he took, I mean, $250,000 out of the bank and ran. I was like, well, take it, man. I said, I'll make more, and so, and I did. I think that year I ended up making close to $750,000, through
yeah,
my invention and the electrical contracting business. I was like, just let it go. You have those feelings, let them flee, they'll pass, and realize that God has everything under control, period. It's supposed to
yeah,
happen because I want to see your character in this. How are you going to react? You know,
yeah,
and it just happens. I mean, people are going to take advantage of people who are kind and good, and I realize, it's what's the word I'm looking for here? I think the scripture that comes to my mind is, be as wise as serpents, but as gentle as doves. So no wisdom
yeah,
when you start to talk to people is ask those questions and see where their heart is, and ask God to give you a discerning way to do these things. God, give
yeah,
me discernment and see if this person is truly a good person. Because when you're in the money lending business, because it deals with people and money, how are their
yeah,
hearts? Are they going to pay back my lender?
right,
When I ask all these questions, are these people truly going to do the right thing 100% of the time? So that's kind of what I've seen in that question right there.
what motivated you to start, like, what was the thing that got you into doing the real estate aspect, right? Starting your real estate business from it.
Oh my goodness. So I resonated with Pace's story so much.
Mhm.
Um, a friend of mine, he is a broker for Remax in Elk City, Mike Stout, another good mentor and friend of mine as well too. He told me at the same time, he's like, dude, you should just become a realtor. He goes, you kind of got a gift, a gift of gab for one, and getting people to buy. He goes, because you sell yourself really well. And it's not because I sell myself, it's because I follow through. I
Yeah.
mean, I follow when I follow through. I mean, it's like I say I'll do it, I get it done, and then I get paid. And
Yeah.
with real estate, I've seen it as, my goodness, it is an asset that everyone needs, just like electrical. Everybody wants to have a home. Everybody
Yeah.
wants that American dream. Everybody wants to have a multifamily, an RV park. In fact, I had one gentleman call me today, Arnie Newton. He called me, and he's another one of Pace's good friends as well too. And Arnie calls me, goes, "Hey man, I got an opportunity." It's like, dude, let me hear what you got. Because I'm excited.
Yeah.
I want to see people win so bad that it excites me,
Yeah.
because I love seeing people win. There's nothing better than watching somebody and their dream come true. Like with Whitney and Melissa, I'm so happy for those ladies, and they are just salt of the earth kind of people as well too. When people win, it's a good feeling. And then the money comes. The money comes with all the end of it. It's just kind of icing on the cake. And then
Yeah.
you use it wisely. So real estate to me is it's an asset. It's something that people need,
Mhm.
that um that will grow over time. It's using it the right way. Just like money, leverage it the right way. You can use it
Yeah.
continuously, for the rest of your life if you're wise with it. And the teachings that Pace bring, and others, in the real estate industry, have taught me that. Robert Kiyosaki is another one. I think he's like $2 billion in debt and with real estate deals, but that's how you build wealth. If you want to become wealthy, is leverage it and use the tax codes and real estate, for those reasons. I
Mhm.
mean, and they're not making any more land, so go buy as much as you can. You know.
Yeah. The eh, God gives us gifts, right? And when you were talking about that, I think there's two gifts that I see in you all the time. One is service, and the other is leadership. And when those two are together, it's an interesting paradigm. I have those same two, and I get far more joy from helping other people get to goals and realize right outcomes than I ever do out of handling my own.
Mhm.
Right. And I think that's that combination of service and leadership that really kind of says, and that's one of those things I'm grateful for every day, right? I could find it as an obligation to serve others, but any opportunity to serve and to see the outcome, that fills my cup.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, uh, I think a lot of people don't believe in themselves enough.
Yeah.
And I see something in you that you don't see yet. Like my mentors with me when I first started, when you're younger, your teachers see that as well too. When I was such a young kid, and you look
Yeah.
back and you start thinking, man, they seen something in me that I didn't see in myself yet. And then you grow into this person knowing that you're starting to grow into it. And as you grow older and older, you realize the friendships that you built with everybody will go a long time, because you're not going to take none of this with you. But at the
Yeah.
end of your life, you want to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant."
Yeah.
You were a servant to everybody because you understood the role that you played. And I think a lot of people, leaders, we don't always have it easy.
Mhm.
It is tough sometimes, but it's kind of like you roll with the punches. Man, you get kicked, you get knocked down, you get right back up. For instance, losing a car in New Mexico in an ice storm, you know,
Yeah.
and being ran off the road by some crazed truck driver, you know, and you sit back and you're angry at this person, but it's like you got your wife in the car, and my first and foremost thought is like, I got to protect her. I've got to get to a safe spot for her and get her back to a safe being inside herself. So it's like, get off the road, get that car out of there, because here come more trucks.
Yeah.
And not one person stopped. You look back and you're
Crazy.
like, you felt like you're on the road as the good Samaritan.
Yeah.
And then finally one person stops, and they ask if you're all right, And you're like, yeah, I'm fine. He's like, okay, well, I got to go get groceries. You're like going, oh my goodness, dude. Like, okay, well, at least he stopped,
Yeah.
and he did call the sheriff's department. We had spotty service where we were at, and I'm calling the sheriff department, like, you're cutting out so bad, sir. I'm like, I got one bar right now, ma'am. I'm so sorry. I go, if you could just pinpoint me with the GPS, I'll stay on here. And your wife, she's like trapped in this car, but you're over as far as you can go without flipping off into a ditch in the car, and
Yeah.
it was devastating. It was devastating to her, but me, I was like going, my mindset, and what I love about you, Tanya, is you called and you're like, no, Chris, you don't need to keep moving forward. Be still. I needed to hear those words. I needed to hear, be still and know that I am God. And when you did that, you spoke into me. You spoke the things that God was telling me that I needed to do at that time. It's like you said, how do I block time? It's like at this time, like we're going to go through the trials and tribulations of life.
Yeah.
Expect it. If you're a child of God, expect those.
Yeah.
But you roll with the punches, you keep moving forward because you're walking by faith and not by sight.
Yeah. That's so good. It was interesting. He works through other people. And so
Amen.
I was calling you to check on you because of course I called you and you answered literally after it happened. And then of course you just stayed on my heart after that. So for sure. Okay, let's get into another fun question. You ready?
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Let's see here. Which one do I want to go with? For people watching, if you didn't realize this, I do research. I make sure that I'm prepared. Let's see here. Oh, we kind of covered that one. I think I know what your answer is going to be to this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out there anyway. In your experience, what separates owners who build durable businesses from those who are always having to rebuild?
Uh, durable owners, they fix root causes. You know, Rebuilders are usually chasing, symptoms.
Mm,
So one builds systems. I mean, this guy, like I have another good friend of mine that is another great man. You build the system that can operate without you. You know,
yeah,
that's one thing that I've looked at is like I always go back to this one. Ty Williamson, he was a highway patrolman here in Oklahoma, and he built systems. And he kind of taught me this. He goes, can you make a better burger than McDonald's? Like, well, yeah, I can. I said, man, you've had my food. Because I know you got great food. He goes, but McDonald's built a system. He goes, you might make a great burger, but the system is what people buy. you know and so
interesting.
as a business owner, you look at how can I build a system. You look
Yeah,
at pace builds systems. He puts you, okay, here's the training you're buying into the community. Here is a system of how you do it, and I'm going to show you how to do it in each step, where other people are like, oh my gosh, I got to go do this, I'm running over here. They're running out, they're putting out fires all the
yeah,
time. And so I guess what separates people who build durability, excuse me, is they build systems, where
yeah.
other ones are putting out fires.
Well, and I think to expand in that one piece from behind the curtain, Pace surrounds himself with people who can build the systems,
Correct. Yes.
right? I mean, the durability, you have to be comfortable enough to recognize that if you're trying to build a sustainable business, you have to get to a point that you work yourself out of it,
Yep.
right? That way it can operate without you. And two, the only way to do that is to surround yourself with people that have strengths that aren't your strengths.
Correct. Correct.
As you think about your electrical business and you've been able to step away, why do you think you've been able to do that?
Right. It's because you build a system. You
Mhm.
build a system of people who can go out and do the work for you.
Yeah.
You put people into play, and that's what you do. You put people into play. Like, this guy is going to make sure that everything is ran the correct way, done the correct way. So stepping
Yes.
away is one of the best things you can do. Get out of your own way.
Yeah. Well, and you've got service-based businesses, which in the world of AI, people in general, let's say, are concerned about if they're going to be out of a job because of AI. And it really, if people would look at it as more of a tool,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
I'm taking a workshop just before Squad Up to learn how to use AI to be some of those employees, right?
Yes.
Which just helps with efficiencies. Um, what are your thoughts on AI when it comes to how it's going to impact businesses and jobs?
So I had the honor of sitting down with General Colin Powell. He was actually the Secretary of State, and he said, if we don't keep up with technology, you are going to get left behind. And this is right before I started Red Hot Electric, knowing that the technology is there. You see that in automation systems, like when I did a Tyson's chicken plant, the automation systems that are being built to process food, because these chicken houses have all these chickens and then they bring them in and then they scan them and they do it. The whole entire machines are doing all the work. You have people there that are making sure that the machines are working correctly in those
Yeah,
areas. As far as AI in the electrical industry, you're always going to need men out in the field.
yeah,
Always. So AI will not take that away. So, but the AI technology that's there, in fact, I spoke with another gentleman that's getting ready to help me build Red Hot Electric in that facet and my private money lending business with this, is
yeah,
use it as a tool to help grow, to help scale,
yeah,
to that way you can step away and going, hey, this person can give phone call to my business. They can say, hey, I need to schedule a time with you. This will sit back, will tell the person where this job is at with the AI technology is there. It's like,
yes,
well, now you're able to use your brain and how you would do things into that. And now your guys can use that technology with your brain in that area to say, hey, this is how the boss would do it. You've got the
yeah,
CEO of a company giving you his insights, and then where these jobs are going to go. They're telling you where the jobs are at, how much material you're going to need, and then you can send those guys out to go do that job and make it more efficient, where they can grow. They can do an upsell if they need to, or they see issues and offer free services like, hey, I just want to go through your home and just make sure that everything's copacetic. I want to take care of your entire electrical system, you
yeah,
know. And the private money business is like, hey, I want to make sure that we can get you funded, but there's a certain criteria that you need to meet. If you can get creative with it, that's even better, because you're not able to use, your credit score or have that on your credit sheets, but
yeah,
you're able to build that trust and that friendship with the seller, so knowing how and when to use the technology is so important today. I think it's a great thing. I love it. It's here,
yeah.
get used to it. I think there's going to be so much great things that come from it.
Well, and part of what you were saying in there connects to where sales, as an example, right? People don't trust salespeople. It's a third least trusted profession in our country.
Wow,
Only,
know that.
only topped by politicians and telemarketers, which,
Dang.
oh, by the way, telemarketers are salespeople, right?
Right.
To some, and because of that, and where that is an industry that is going to be impacted heavily. Uh, but the ones that won't, in my opinion, is exactly because of what you were just talking about. When people have a problem, right, or there's a desired outcome and they feel that they need help to get there, the biggest thing people want is empathy.
Yeah.
They want empathy, right? You've talked
Mhm.
about friendships. Well, friendships is also directly connected to empathy,
Amen.
right?
Yeah.
You have to make it, you find common ground and you have a care and a concern. You're empathetic to a friend. And if people don't want to get worked out of a job, the electricians, it's empathy. I want to check your house. You mentioned the most important thing to you is that their house is safe.
Yeah.
That's a level of empathy, right? And AI is not going to be able to duplicate that.
No, no. And that's it. I mean, it's a tool, just like money is a tool, you
Yeah.
know, knowing what that is. And it's just like in your tool pouch. This is just a tool that we use. But you're right. It's the human factor that will was set us apart from technology.
Yeah.
You have to have both. Um, Most people aren't ready for it. A lot of people aren't ready for. I don't want to have a data center in my town. I don't want to. I'm like, okay, well, where would you want to have one? Because it's coming.
Yeah.
You know, it's here. So it's it's. I think it's remembering not to lose that factor of empathy to truly build those friendships, and care, have that empathetic factor. If I care, I care that you don't lose your home, especially wintertime. It got so cold. I'm
Oh, yeah.
sure Texas didn't get to see that. I mean, Texas did see that cold,
Yeah, they
and you're
canceled
not
our
used
event. They
to it.
moved our
You're not
event to
used
May
to it.
3rd.
Yeah. I mean, they're not. I mean, New Mexico wasn't used to it at all either. It's like I never seen ice in the desert. But being empathetic. I mean, that's really just the human factor of it has to be mixed with both. And I think finding
Yeah.
the balance in it, just in everything, a little bit of
Yeah.
everything is good.
So, across your companies, what non-negotiable standards do you hold for your leadership teams?
Repeat that question one more time.
Of course, across your companies, what
Mhm.
non-negotiable standards do you have for your leadership teams?
I'm going to say integrity. You have to have integrity for the first and foremost. Say what you're going to do and be who you say you are.
Yeah.
Honesty goes a long ways with a lot of it. You're dealing with people's livelihoods. Pace has said it in itself too. It's like when you use somebody else's money, that was their life force. They went
Yeah.
out and they used their time and they saved up that money to give to you to lend out to help somebody else. So knowing that integrity and honesty are going to be some of the biggest factors that we go on here.
Yeah.
And don't lie about it, just and don't steal. I think those are some of my non-negotiables at all, is having, integrity, honesty, and don't steal.
Yeah.
Those are my negotiables at all.
Yeah. Now, did you grow up in Oklahoma?
I grew up in New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Missouri, Arkansas, Northwest Arkansas, all that kind of the four-state area in there.
Yeah.
So, and Texas also, I got family in Texas as well too. So kind of
So,
like all those areas, like so.
what led you to settle in Oklahoma?
My father is in
Okay.
Oklahoma, so he lives up on Grand Lake in the Grand Lake area, northeast Oklahoma. So just the lake area, being Cherokee Indian, I'm Cherokee. I speak Cherokee. I write Cherokee. Um, always just kind of where the red fern grows. I think that was one of the books that said, you know what, this is it. When you sit back and you look at that kind of life, I'm a hunter. I love fishing and hunting. That's my biggest passions. I give all the money in the world away if I could just hunt fish all the time. So knowing that, you kind of have roots here.
Yeah.
My roots were here. So I love Oklahoma. I love it. I've got many, many friends across this entire state. You know, I got people who don't like me. That's fine. I mean, not everybody's cup of
Not your
tea.
people.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Oklahoma is good. I love Texas, Arkansas people as well too. Another state I fell in love with was Georgia, Savannah, Georgia, Louisiana. Traveling and going around all these places with pace. There's some amazing people all over this country,
Yeah.
and I find so much from every single one of them that I meet up with, and some of them are just full of themselves. I mean, I was like, one guy asked me, I need $2 million. So I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to cross qualify? No, people just give me money. I go, then why are you asking me for money? I'm
Right.
going, so, Oklahoma is kind of my roots, um, I always look to travel. I think that's what my wife has loved a lot too, is all these places that we're going, meeting
Yeah.
all the people that we do. You know, it's brought her. I mean, I just watch her relax and watching her just. really conform to a whole new lifestyle because she's been 20 years in a hospital and running a hospital and being part of such a chaotic scene all the time, and she handled it with grace, even with what we just went through, she's handled it with a lot of grace. So I
Yeah.
love my Oklahoma people, always have.
I think you'll find this funny when you said you're a hunter and you love to fish. In Sunday Bible study on Sunday, I'm in this generations class, and we're all grandparents or great grandparents. And
Hmm.
we were studying a chapter in Matthew. And it was when he started to call, right, Peter and Andrew, the Zebedee brothers, to follow him.
Yeah.
And we were talking about what sort of faith it takes to not even question it, right? You just immediately leave. And we have a fisherman in the class who does all these bass tournaments, and he says, how about the fact that they left the boat? Like,
Yeah.
him, it was the fact that they literally left the boat, because his mind was just like, how am I going to fish?
Right.
So funny.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, I got another good friend of mine. He is the head of security for Shaquille O'Neal. And we could talk business all day long, but
Yeah.
man, we start talking fishing. It might go hours. My wife the other day, she's like, "Will you go into another room? All you guys are talking about is fishing." And we were talking like 3 or 4 hours of nothing but fishing and places to
Yes.
go. And I mean, I think just as men, it's just like you realize God gives you a gift, and He's like, not only will you be fishermen, you will be fishers of men,
Yeah.
and that's truly what you look at. There's something about it that is a God-given gift, is
Hmm.
being able to talk to other men and really pinpoint who they are, where they are in their hearts, where they are in their lives, you know and it's like, if you're a fisherman or a fisherwoman, hey, I got to use a different kind of lure, I got to use a different kind of technique in order to catch that fish, and Jesus knows that. He knew that. It's like, hey, try casting over to this side, and he did. I mean, they ended up hauling in a lot of fish at that time. And I think that's just what it's about. It's about um, your catch. I expect to
Yeah.
catch men, expect to lead them back to the Lord, and blessed, blessed with that factor too.
Yeah. Let's see here. You're the last of the only independently family owned radio stations in North America. What did that legacy teach you about stewardship versus growth at all costs?
Wow. Um, growing up in a radio station, you realize that the it's a rarity in this country. I looked up something the other day. My wife and I were talking about this. 0.001% of the population in the United States of America owns a radio station. So the
Mhm.
rarity of owning something like that or being a part of something like that says something. And the communities that you set them up in, because people need to hear what's going on. Redosa, New Mexico is the example that I use, and my parents have KRUI there, or did. Eh, the people are able to tune into a radio station and hear what's going on. They
Yeah.
know that they can hear what the governments are saying, where to go eat, who is trusted in these communities. And so you realize the trust that people bring to you when they talk about me and my business, talk
Mhm.
about the government and the things that are going on, talk about, the news that's happening, and let me hear some songs that make me jump with joy and dance, or to feel that sorrow. There's such a passion that comes with having a radio station because it reaches a lot of facets of life.
Mhm.
I think my papaw, he said it most, he goes, "Hey, I saw it on the radio." Because think about the days of that's all they had. They didn't have a television, you
Yeah.
know. My wife's father didn't have a television for a long time, so they would sit around the radio and listen. And so the skills of learning to listen were so important, and I think that's a legacy that goes in everything. People listen,
Yeah.
knowing that you're in a community that needs you. You say, hey, our radio station's in this community. Hey, our radio station's in this community. And hey, I know where I can go talk about my business and let other people know outside these areas to come to my business. And that's an important factor. Having that marketing and that media, it goes a long ways. In fact, even with this, I talked to my little brother the other day, and he's got 3 radio stations. And I was like, hey, I'm getting ready to send you a bunch of stuff. So get ready, man. He's like, I'm ready. Just send it, because that's what we do. We just kind of help connect everybody to the world, and that's kind of what we do, and you too, you're a connector, you connect people, bring me what you know, and I'll tell everybody about it.
Yeah. I listen. So in my car, I use Sirius XM. Full
Yep.
transparency. There's a station I like on there. But when I'm home, literally you can't hear it. I don't think you can hear it in the background. I constantly have a radio station on.
Yep.
So, and if we leave the house, my husband and I turn on the surround sound of a radio station for our dogs.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Right? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And because it helps keep my mind in the right spot.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So what's your go-to music?
Mine, country, every
Country?
time. Country, every time. But I like it all. I mean, I
Yeah.
like everything from Christian rap, uh, opera, classical music. It doesn't matter. Classic rock. That's what we have. Classic rock and country radio stations.
Yeah.
Rap. I got some friends who are in the rap group, Bone Thugs and Harmony. Um, Shaquille O'Neal does rap. I mean, just every facet. I guess it kind of goes with the mood. There's also some Christian rap out there as well too. The Tunnel Rats. I
Yeah.
mean, I love those guys. Lecrae. Those guys. I've seen them in concert before. They've come up there. They got heavy metal. I got some heavy metal. I mean, but my go-to is country. I mean, if it is, I'm putting on George Strait every time.
Yeah.
So that or Toby Keith, or there's just so many of them. I met so many artists over my life. I think the strongest one I ever met was Charlie Daniels.
Mm.
And you want to talk about a man of God. Man, he is a big man, but he had a big heart for the Lord, and I, especially towards the end of his life, that was really all it was about. It was about the Lord and what he done in his life and leading people to Christ. So I
Yes.
admire many of them, many of those men, but country is going to be my go-to.
Yeah.
How about you? What's your favorite go-to?
Christian pop.
Christian. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
Christian.
So Forrest Frank, Phil
Yep.
Wickham.
Yep.
I think what I really Jelly Roll. I think what I
Jelly
really
roll.
appreciate is how a lot of the Christian pop has crossed over into country.
Yep.
Right. If you look at Jelly Roll, I think he just won a CMA
Yep. He did. Yeah.
for best crossover to country. So I think it starts to bring in so we've got 3 grandsons. Our middle grandson loves to go to church with me. And the other night for Vince and I, he just put on YouTube these Forrest Frank videos and he's doing these dances that go with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I think the crossover into country is what's going to help people who maybe don't get that exposure to start to
Yeah.
just sort of have an awareness.
Yeah, yeah, it's like seeds, I mean, like a
Yeah.
farmer, I'm planting
Yeah.
seeds, and I'm gonna expect a reap a reward from what I plant.
Yeah.
The harvest is plentiful,
Yeah.
so it's the workers are few. So it's like this is where we come in, we're like, hey, we're not gonna get them all, we can get some, but
Yeah.
knowing that that's a big part of life. A big part of life is planting seeds, and knowing that you expect a return. God,
Yeah.
God said that, expect a return when it comes to me.
Well, as we're getting close to wrapping up, and you think about if you were to have to start all over again, right?
Hmm.
What advice, what wisdom do you want to leave the viewers with? Because you're very humble, and that's the whole point of this podcast. I don't want anybody on the podcast that is flash and cash, because the reality is they typically are living on credit and maxed out. No offense to those people, but they're not my people.
Right.
And I think that the level of humility as people build things is important, right? Because then it's in the right place.
Mm.
So if you had to start over, if you're like, okay, I need to take care of my family, create, income, if you will, what wisdom did you want to give them?
I would always say, and I wish I would have started right here, was with real estate. Honestly, I look at somebody like Brandon Turner.
Yeah,
He is a strong Christian. I love his faith, and the way he built his business was just amazing. You know, I haven't got to speak with Brandon, but one of these days I know I will because my wife loves Maui and she loves Oahu. So one of these days I hope to find him in church when we go there,
yeah,
and just kind of I would encourage everybody start with a a real estate deal, a small real estate deal, you
yeah,
know, and then a business. Find a service business that people need. That's not
yeah,
going to go anywhere. That's why I looked at electrical, you know, and so those are the two things. And then set that aside, live below your means at first, and then stack that money, and then use other people's money to grow your businesses as well too. The way
yeah,
Pace teaches how to be creative with the financing, how to be able to negotiate deals, and not be afraid to ask for the things that you want. Ask, seek, and knock. I've learned that.
yeah,
People are like, how did you get so quick in this business? Like, I went and asked for it. I knocked on the door and said, hey, can I get some
yeah,
money? And then it said, and it opened up to me, so it was faith, and then and being humble about it, because anybody can do this, you know, and it's knowing that it's okay to ask and it's okay for people to say no. I've had people tell me no a lot, that, like you said,
yeah,
they're not my people, and that's
yeah.
okay. So, yeah, real estate,
So,
businesses, and cash flowing assets are going to be how I would start.
so building real estate, you said service-based businesses. Clearly, electrical is a service-based business. For people who may not understand what that means, give them some examples of some other service-based businesses.
Um, HVAC is another good one.
Okay.
Plumbing. There's not very many plumbers. Plumbers are probably your cream of the crop. I would really say that because not a people want a lot of deal with plumbing. You know, um, some other service-based businesses, I would say, laundry mats. My goodness, I watch people with laundry mats. People need to do laundry all the time. So it's
Yeah.
finding something that people need, and that is not going to go anywhere
Yeah.
anytime soon.
Yeah.
So your construction guys, your concrete guys, you know those are your service-based businesses. I think Curtis Ray was another one. He's like, hey, I needed to remodel a shower. And Pace was kind of the same way. You kind of started construction, and you think, hey, I'm in real estate. No, you're not in real estate. Get the asset, the home, the house. I resonated with that a lot too, and so now here I am, going, man, I should have started this 20 years ago. um but I am where I am, and I'm okay with that, and
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot from you, from Pace, from Jamil, from Jerry Norton, and not and many others in this
Yeah.
community that we're with, and just amazing people, and figuring it all out together is what makes it so fun.
Yeah. And clearly, you're inviting people to be able to reach out to you since you have your phone number there.
Yes, yeah. Give me a call, send me a text. If I don't get back to you today, I'll schedule time with you. I'll text and see what's going on with you. I'll build that friendship with you first and see what I can do. If I can do something for you,
Yeah.
wonderful. If not, I'll point you in the right direction, connect you with the right people where you need to go. And I think that's it. I think we all network together and we all grow together. And it's like, yeah, this guy kind of, just a guy. It's like I always see myself. I'm just a guy, you know. So, and I love helping people and loving seeing everybody win.
Yeah.
I've had many people reach out to me, um, even young. I mean, I'm like my kids. Their friends are reaching out to me today because I seen something in them as well too. Now
Yeah.
they have businesses in the oil field in Western Oklahoma. And I love that. I love seeing their welding businesses. I love seeing them tackle the oil fields. I love them seeing them starting their own things. And it's a community. And when you think like that, like Pace
Yeah.
does, it changes people's lives. We're a
Yeah.
community, and that's what it's about.
Agreed. Thank you so much for the time, Chris.
Thank you, ma'am. It's great
Yeah.
having you today. Thank
Uh,
you for having me.
you too. Let's see.